Said they had problems. The protagonist, filling out the paperwork, asked, "What's wrong? Did the potions go bad or something?" She handed him a newspaper and said, "Yeah, if things keep going like this, things are really going to go south. The Blue Tower is having a 50% sale on their potions." The newspaper said the Azure Dragon winter warming sale had begun. Moira Main had announced the sale to help the poor stay healthy during this harsh winter. MC told them to just look at them. How cute. She was indignant. Did he find that cute? They were obviously trying to drive them out of the potion market. With a discount like that, they wouldn't even make a profit themselves, so why else? With that, she covered her face with her hands. The protagonist, looking at her, said, "No big deal. They'll barely last 2 or 3 weeks." She yelled, "What? That's still almost a month," after which they probably won't even be able to set foot in the market. They should start selling Cadena flu cures along with the restorative potions. The protagonist replied, "No way. That's exactly what the Blue Tower wants. If they tried to profit off the Cadena flu disaster, the people would go crazy, which would give the Blue Tower an excuse to vilify them even more, saying they were holding people's lives hostage." She asked, "What then? Did he want them to just take the damage?" He asked, "They still had a ton of potions in stock, right?" She confirmed it, to the point that they wouldn't even notice if someone pocketed 100 or 2. He put the scroll aside and remarked that that was good. She, perplexed, shouted, "Okay?" He said it was the recipe for the Zero series of tonics, and they can afford to use all the mid-grade potions in stock to refine into tonics, right? She asked, "All the stock?" He asked, "What's the point of storing potions that don't sell? They'll even add bonuses. Let's say if one family buys 2 copies of the Zero series, they'll add on the discount, and then the purchasing power of families with children and the elderly will increase." Lena unrolled the scroll and, after thoughtfully reading the contents, said that from now on, she wouldn't fall for discounts anymore. His business acumen was frightening. He scratched his chin thoughtfully and said, "They also need to pay the Information Guild to spread one rumor. That's possible, right?" She asked what rumor. He answered, M0. Doesn't she think it would be funny if they spread rumors that it also helps with male potency? She looked at him in surprise and asked, "Will this help with sales?" He replied that she would see for herself. She just had to wait. Sales would be huge. In 3 weeks, the Blue Tower. Moira folded his arms and thought, "It's done. They've completely crushed them." He looked at the graph drawn on the board and thought, "The branch manager will like this." Then he heard a knock at the door. He told him to come in. The department head came inside and called him. He shouted in surprise. "Yes?" he asked. "Have you seen the news?" He replied, "No, not yet." Then the head of the Blue Tower's potion department hit him in the face with a newspaper and asked, "Then why are you smiling?" He threw the newspaper on the floor and told him to pick it up and read it. He replied, "Yes." Then the department head asked, "Is this the best he can do?" He shouted, "He sacrificed all their profits for these pathetic results." The newspaper said the White Tower had won big by launching tonic production. 10 million copies were sold in the first month, and the Zero series became a popular gift for aging parents. A male enhancement product, M0, was found to have an unexpected side effect of enhancing male health, leading to a shortage. The most effective tonic, the White Tower continues to write its own success story. Moira thought, tonics, not potions? But this isn't on the market, is it? It's impossible for him not to be aware of it. Then he noticed another column in the newspaper, which said it was worth emphasizing door-to-door sales methods and the subscription system, which made shopping from home as convenient as possible. He thought, damn. Naturally, with such methods, market sales volumes reflect real situations. The head of the potion department asked if it had already reached the point where the White Tower announced that they would keep the discounts on their potions forever. They said he had greatly impressed them. The newspaper said Oscar's statement. He was deeply touched by the actions of their comrades from the Blue Tower, and now, following their example, the White Tower promises to keep the discounts on their potions intact. He shouted that it was a scam. They had planned to sell it at this price from the very beginning. The head of the department stepped forward and asked, how did the people know this? They had never sold these vials anywhere before. Staring at this graph and thinking he had won, now, no matter how much pressure they try to exert, the potion market won't be able to simply ignore the White Tower, since people will want potions from that tower specifically. With that, he drew a graph further and added, and taking that into account, they'll end up around here. He'll be busy in the future. He asked, he's apologizing? What? He replied, to recoup the damage the Blue Tower suffered. Even if he works without a salary, the rest of his life won't be enough. After some time, the eastern part of the continent, the Yan dynasty, the monster waved its hand. The warriors standing below prepared to attack. One of them, putting his hand to his hip, shouted, they must stop it. Another warrior added, we can't let it reach the settlement. They must form a formation of 9 dragons and a wind cloud now. Before he could finish speaking, the monster's blow sent him flying backwards and then landed on the ground. One of the warriors standing in front wondered, what should they do now? He looked at the monster's confused face, and the next second, Shasha flew down from above and said, he's been found. The warriors looked at her in surprise. She said, he must return in peace to his lands if he doesn't want her to return him to the dirt. She pointed her hand forward and used her innate magic, the tireless wind. The monster seemed to evaporate in a matter of seconds. She said that this kind of thing has been happening more and more often lately. One of the warriors asked, is she from the White Magic Tower? She looked at him and asked, is he Zhongchun? He shouted, He apologizes for the late introduction. She was right. He was from the Dragon sect. She removed her hood and said she was Shasha Maist, the head of the White Tower. She asked, did they bring what she asked the 9 Dragon sect leaders for? He handed her a newspaper and confirmed it, telling her to take it. She asked for a newspaper from the Empire, right? She confirmed it. The sect leader said that lately, the West was full of articles about the White Tower. She looked at the newspaper in her hands in surprise and thought she was afraid to read. What if their tower had gone bankrupt in the 2 months she'd been gone? What if they were forever stripped of their status as one of the 4 great towers? If that happened, she'd never be able to look the master in the eye. The newspaper said the White Tower was continuing to write its success story. She looked at it in bewilderment and then began flipping through the pages. She asked, is this all fiction? Chun asked. What? She asked. Did he make up these stories to avoid upsetting her? He waved his hands and replied, of course it wasn't. She returned to reading and thought, okay, everything else, but what about the fact that the deliveries are doing so well? She hadn't even considered the success of this business at the moment. She hadn't started it for profit, she had other goals. Then she folded the newspaper and said, okay, in that case, I'll take my leave. Please. He should send the payment for the order to the Imperial bank account. He bowed and replied, yes. The next second, she disappeared into the sky, flying forward rapidly. She thought, what's going on in the White Tower right now? After a while, Lena folded her arms and remarked that he was definitely a wizard. MC asked, what's she saying? She replied, she just thought it all happened literally like magic. How could he even shake the Blue Tower with one newspaper story? She still couldn't believe it. Thanks to him, sales of recovery potions have skyrocketed. He asked, is the reaction positive? She replied, countless cities, besides Siren, are requesting to start selling them. She thought this perpetual discount strategy was working perfectly. He remarked, it's wonderful. She added that since things were going so well, she'd cast the line at the army too, in case they took the bait, but so far they were indifferent. He said the Blue Tower had offered them excellent conditions their entire lives, so they saw no need to change anything at the moment. And by the way, there weren't any problems with potions expected anytime soon, were there? So she didn't have to report all this to him. And why was she reporting to him anyway? She wondered, isn't he the head of the potions department? Then she asked, what about the budget report? He replied, once a month was more than enough. She asked, he leaves all the dirty work to her, and what, he's planning on having fun? He looked surprised. Having fun? He's busy too. Now that the warehouses are filled to the brim, he needs to take care of internal matters, like restoring lost magic textbooks. He figured it shouldn't take long, but no matter how much of a genius young Oscar was, a sudden revelation in the form of a top-level theory would seem strange to everyone, right? He already uses the use of an unrecognized genius too often. He'd just like to present something like this under a false name. A mage well-versed in magical theory, and also quite famous, influential, and mature. Ah, could someone like that suddenly fall out of the sky? Meanwhile, Schweinkok, the elder of the White Tower, a mage theorist, opened into the room, stretched his body, then looked ahead and said it had been a long time since he'd seen the sun. After some time, Maxim said in surprise, it's been ages. Fidelina stood nearby and asked, Schwein, is he quite early this time? What was it, 3 months? How was the research? Apparently nothing good. He confirmed this. They were sitting at the table, and then he grabbed his head and said that he couldn't manifest the spell. He absolutely had to present it at the White Knight Festival this year, and he still couldn't find the correct value for finite mana. Maxim told him not to rush too much. His research was complicated. She asked, he'd already spent 7 years on this, right? He confirmed it as soon as he found the correct value in the calculations, the correct value. She said it must be hard for him. After that, Maxim asked what he thought about assistants. For example, there's Oscar. He looked up at him and asked, what? After that, he folded his arms across his chest and said, no way. A first-level mage wouldn't understand anything about this scientific work at the very least. Fidelina noticed that he was already second level. He asked, really? She indignantly added that he had worked hard. He asked if she hadn't been the one who couldn't stand him, saying he was wasting budget money without producing any results. She closed her eyes and said that was before. Maxim smiled and added that it was because he was too busy with his scientific work and didn't know about the latest developments in the White Tower. Didn't the atmosphere seem to have changed somewhat? He glanced around and confirmed it. People looked somewhat healthier. And in a way, one could say they'd won the lottery. Maxim said that it was all thanks to Oscar's potential finally being realized. He was surprised, and Fidelina added, you should have seen it. It's a shame he wasn't there. That's what happened. After a while, Schwein said thoughtfully, so, she's saying the guy turned out to be good at alchemy? She added that it wasn't just that. It was as if the spirit of the legendary merchant had possessed him. Such was his incredible business acumen. Maxim raised his index finger and added, he's also an excellent lecturer. He'd never have guessed he was only a second-level wizard. In terms of theory, he's on par with high-level wizards. And that's no exaggeration. He held his hands out in front of him and said, okay, they should calm down. He'd meet with him, since they recommended it, but he wasn't promising anything. He wasn't being condescending, it's just that his work is inherently complex. The same view from the first-floor windows and from the tower roof would be completely different. In other words, Even though he was a genius, the breadth of a second-level wizard's perspective is limited. Not to mention, he was currently studying the restoration of the personal magic of a genius among geniuses, a wizard among wizards, Archmage Oscar Sage. After a while, the protagonist asked, was it testing right away? He confirmed it. He should let him introduce himself first. His name is Shuang, one of the elders of the White Tower.